Now it's time to paint this up and make it look like it actually belongs to a world. First though, I have to do a little bit of cleanup before I actually start painting. Along the base of the long wall in the shop, I wasn't exactly clean when applying the plaster, so it's slightly pulled up at like the base of the wall. So it is sticking out a little bit, and I just wanted to scrape that away and make it look a bit nicer before I started with the painting. Once I got that all done, I took a wet sponge to all the wood pieces so that they were a bit cleaner of the plaster dust. Then I started following the tutorials. The first thing I needed to do was stain the unstained wood from the shingle step. Painted the stain on, then set them aside for a bit. After that, for the first time, I have to make black wash. Making that wash, I thought that pure black it'd be a little bit much for going straight on to like white plaster. So I added in a couple drops of white, mixed it all up, and I thought it was looking good at the time. Looking back though, I think I could have added like a little bit more white so that it would just get to kind of a lighter shade of gray, because some of the plaster areas on the chimney, they feel just a little bit too black in the end for like cement that would be holding a chimney together. It's just a little thing. Then as my trial run, I painted the test piece that I had made first, just to see how well like the black wash would apply there. And that I think looks decent. Because it is like a smaller area, I think it looks fine. But, you know, like I said, when I look at the chimney, it's a little bit too dark. Once I completed that test piece, I grabbed a sponge from the kit and started to use that with the black wash to cover the whole chimney, pressing it in a little bit so that it would get a lot of that water and paint out and it would run through the crevices, which most of the time that worked. But there were some areas, especially like close to the top of the chimney, that it just didn't want to stay, or it didn't want to like grab the paint. So I just used a brush with that wash to get it into those crevices. Once I got the chimney done, I worked on the stone wall that I had made next to it with the brush and the sponge combination. And after I finished doing all of the brushing, I grabbed the sponge again and I started to work on the floor. Just, you know, dabbing it all over the floor to cover it with wash. Once I got that floor basically covered with the wash for it to sink into the cracks and crevices, and I wiped the stones a little bit to get them a little more prominent and not look exactly the same as the stuff in between them. I then started to work on the long wall of the shop. First thing I did there was I applied another coat of stain onto that wall's beams. I wanted to get them back to the point of being like a darker wood instead of being covered in plaster dust where they looked kind of like grayish white. Then I let the stain just sit there and soak in for a little bit before I started applying the black wash to all that wood that I had just restained. This is going to help with weathering the wood and giving it, you know, that darker look. Not completely black, but just like that richer, darker kind of like, I don't want to say mahogany, but like more of like a walnut look to it. I also used the black wash on the edge of the plaster next to the wood just to try and like weather that plaster a little bit and make it look a little bit more in shadow around those beams. But I think I went a little too far out with it, so that I need a little bit more painting control with the brush like that. This is the process for doing all of the wood that is on this model, that's on this diorama. It's that simple. And I'm just going to do like a quick montage through of doing it all. And we'll be back in, you know, a little bit to go and talk about the other steps.
Let me up, or you're gonna have a real bad. Yeah, I am a smart mouth. How'd you think I wound up where I am, who I am by now? Just another minute till we sisters sign off. So if you're not with it, wave bye bye bye. Babe, I got a third eye. I don't do receipts. I'm a witch. Fill me up for my switch. I'm a bitch. I'm a devil in disguise. But I'm hypnotized. They don't even know what it is. There ain't no nobody that life I've done. You can't control this. Hype me up, or you're gonna have a real bad time. They don't even know what it is. There ain't no nobody that life I've done. You can't control this. Hype me up, or you're gonna have a real bad. I'm a witch, I'm a bitch. Fuck you up until you die with my trashy attitude and my demons in the mood. As the prey become the huntress, I've got them all confused. I will never be enslaved to the ideas they infuse. Once a whore, we're nothing more than morning creatures being used. Didn't stop it, get appendix where obsessed with being praised. Vein so well, you are too crafty, we have made this homework, yeah. They don't even notice. They're in on the ride of their lifetime. You cannot control this. Happy up, we're gonna have a real bad time. They don't even notice. They're in on the ride of their lifetime. You cannot control this. Happy up, we're gonna have a real bad and her and him making love in the corner of your brain, and it's dark and it's damp, make no mistake. I sure am what I hate, and I love me all the same. Me and her and him making love in the corner of your brain, and it's dark and it's damp, make no mistake. I sure am what I hate, and I love me all the same. They don't even notice. They're in on the ride of their lifetime. You cannot control this. Wake me up, or you're gonna have a real bad time. They don't even notice. They're in on the ride of their lifetime. You cannot control this. Wake me up, or you're gonna have a real bad.
You are gonna have a really, really bad time, sir.
This shit. Wake me up, or you're gonna have a real bad time.
Once I was done with all of that, I created a mix of brown, white, and yellow paints to get a sort of cream color to add into the plaster so it's not just gray or black and white. Then using the sponge, I dabbed this paint mix onto all of the large plaster surfaces on the walls of the house and shop. Basically anywhere there wasn't stone, got a quick dabbing of this color. I think maybe I should have put in a little bit more yellow because a lot of the sections feel like there's a bit too much brown there. Then to finish up the plaster, I grabbed my brush and I put a bit of white paint on it and just dabbed it against the side of the building to add a little bit of white back into the plaster. Once I finished with the plaster, I turned my attention to the roofs. Using the sponge again, I dipped it in the black wash and started at the top of the shop's roof. I brushed it along the top edge and then down the sides, leaving a trail of wash down the shingles in multiple areas. I wanted to leave some areas without the wash to add in some contrast to the roof so that's not like all covered in black. It may have been done a little bit haphazardly, I'll be honest. I probably should have just covered it all in the black wash, but I thought this would look okay and it's okay. Not great. I gotta get a better technique on it, but hey, first time, right? Once I finished with doing the black wash on the roof, I grabbed the big brush that was included in the kit and some of the white paint, and I started to dry brush the edges of the shingles. I just brushed off as much paint as I could from the brush. Okay, a lot of the time, it wasn't light enough. Like, I should have gone a bit less heavier on a good amount of the shingles. I should have wiped the brush off on my hand or on the towel more, just to get it, you know, a good dry brushing consistency. Because I think I left it a little bit heavy on a lot of the shingles. But when I went to dry brush with the same technique, the wood beams around the shop and house, I think I did a pretty okay job with keeping that light, and I like the look of that more than I like the look of the roof. After that, with following the tutorials, I made another mix of gray paint to apply to all the stones on like the chimney and the walls, which I'll be honest, I think this was a mistake. I like it when stuff pops out like the stones, but the gray color that I made, I think I had too much black in it, and it makes the stones blend in with the plaster. Not like entirely, you can still tell the difference. It is a slightly lighter shade than the plaster, but I think I should have just left the ones on like the chimney and the wall as is, and it would have been fine. But, you know, hindsight's 2020, and kind of following tutorials, you kind of just get in the flow of it and don't think like, hey, maybe this would be better. Once I painted the stones with that gray, I grabbed the sponge again, dabbed it in a bit of black, and started to dab it on all the stones, just to give them, you know, some texture and a bit of contrast with the paint. I also did that with some white, and I think those helped kind of make the stones stick out a little bit. Not a lot, but it added a little bit of contrast there. Now we're at the point of finishing up like the major things of painting. Basically, we got to do the ground. I just took a good amount of brown and spread it all over the diorama to cover up the ground texture, so it's not, you know, all white, and it provides a good base soil color underneath all the flocking and things that I'm going to put on there in the next step. Then for the final couple of touches, I made a black wash and a dark green wash. The black wash was to act like moisture at the base of the structures. Basically, where anything touched the ground texture, I added in a little bit of that black wash. Then the green wash was to represent the buildup of moss on the stones and the wood that are touching the ground. So I put that on the bottom couple of layers of stone on the back and sides of the chimney that are outside, and at the base of all the wood sections of the shop and the house that are, you know, on the outside or on the edges. I also put some where the roof touches the chimney, where water would kind of naturally flow down it. Then for the final touch, I painted the inside of the forge black along with the inside of the chimney that I could reach from the top, adding a little bit to the stone around the rim at the top for like the buildup of ash, and along like the outer edge of the forge mouth. And that's it for the major painting steps on the diorama. There's some other little things that I want to paint for this diorama also, but that will be part of my final touches video. Next video, I'm going to be putting down all the vegetation, and hopefully it won't fall off this time like with the tree, which I really screwed up on because it's kind of still shedding a little bit. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do all the algorithm stuff. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and have a royal day.